When the original Macross was introduced in Japan in 1982, it became an instant classic, tackling the themes of love and understanding one another in a way that nobody would expect. So naturally, when a show gets popular, it receives a film adaptation. On July 7th, 1984, Macross Do You Remember Love hit Japan theaters and became one of the most lovable films in Japanese animation. What makes this movie so special? Well, let's find out. As far as plot goes, if you've seen the original Macross series, it's pretty much the same song and dance here. The Macross crew and its civilians were under attack by the Zentradi, warped to the edge of the galaxy, and now must find their way back home. Joining us are the rookie pilot Hikaru Ichijo, his mentor and friend, Roy Fokker, and two of Hikaru's own wingmen, Max and Kakizaki. Hikaru is also involved in a love triangle with his superior officer, Misa Hayase, and pop idol Lin Minmay. Throughout the journey back home, battles will be fought, tragedies will happen, and love and loyalty is put to the ultimate test. While the basic plot remains the same as it was in the TV series, it is not a complete retelling. Instead, the story itself was almost completely altered, and some events in the story are completely different to how they happened in the show. For example, in the show, Hikaru met Minmay during the Zentradi's raid on Earth, but in the movie, they meet on board the Macross. Another difference is that the gender of the aliens are now two different species. The Zentradi are all male, and the Meltrandi are all female. Most of the characters' fates remained unchanged, but some of their personalities feel a bit different. Hikaru isn't as angsty as he was in the show, and is already a pilot. Misa is not as bossy and her temper is more controlled, and Minmay is a bit more mature and is already established as a pop star. The secondary characters remain mostly the same personality-wise, but one of the main problems of the movie is that most of the other characters don't have as much screen time when compared to Hikaru, Misa, and Minmay, who have the most screen time and character development in the film. Some people tend to crap on this movie because of that, but I don't mind them having the most screen time, since I was aware that the film was going to focus mostly on the love story. And in that aspect, I thought it did a good job, but I did wish the other characters were fleshed out a little bit more like they were in the series. The other issue people generally have with the movie is that because it's faster paced, it can feel very rushed and confusing at times, especially to those who are newcomers to Macross that have never seen the show. Despite feeling rushed, I find that the film remains entertaining and engaging throughout, mostly thanks to the love triangle. Overall, while the story is a condensed alternate retelling of the events of the TV series, it still has most of the elements that makes Macross good. Its themes are wonderful, and its atmosphere is still dramatic and intense. Regarding the art and animation, I think Do You Remember Love is a visual masterpiece. The detailing is incredible, the animation is unbelievably fluent, and the battles are incredibly fast-paced and a spectacle to watch. It's amazing how great the movie looks, and keep in mind, this was back in 1984. The art style has more of a dark tone compared to the show, but I didn't mind it too much. The character designs are still done by Haruhiko Mikimoto, but more up to date and consistent compared to the TV series. And I love the redesigns of the Zentradi. They actually look like real aliens this time around, as opposed to multicolored people. The mech designs were also modified quite a bit, but they remain generally the same. Oh, and Hikaru's Super Valkyrie is badass. Generally speaking, I think the visual quality of Do You Remember Love is on par with the likes of Akira and Char's Counterattack. Watching this movie's incredible art and animation flow is an experience all by itself, and I cannot get enough of it. The music remains fantastic as always. A lot of musical pieces from the TV series return here, particularly Minmay's songs, and they all still sound really good. Although the best song in this movie is without a doubt Do You Remember Love, the main theme of the film. It's such a wonderful song to listen to, as it's really hypnotic and emotional. It's one of my favorite anime songs of all time, and the song that made Mori Ijima into a Japanese singing sensation. All in all, the music is incredible. The seiyus from the television series return to do an outstanding job. so there isn't much else to say regarding the voice acting, except that they gave the Zentradi their own language, which is kind of cool. Now there are two dubs that were made, the dub made by Toho, and the Clash of the Bionoids dub. I haven't heard either one, but I'm going to assume that they are shit just like 90% of the anime dubs back then. So what else is there to say about this phenomenal movie? Do You Remember Love is a great movie and a great addition to the Macross franchise. It takes most of the elements that made the show great and turns it into a 2-hour-long thrilling experience. Some may find this movie overrated because of how rushed the plot was compared to the show, but I for one can forgive that to a degree since the main focal point of the movie is the love story, which is done really well. It's a shame that thanks to the jerk-offs at Harmony Gold, Do You Remember Love will probably never see a proper release in the US. Oh well, at least we have anime streaming websites for situations like that. Now for the million-dollar question. Is it better than the TV series? I personally don't think so. Don't get me wrong, Do You Remember Love is a great film, but it does feel rather condensed, and a lot of characters didn't have a lot of development time. The TV series was a lot more expansive, and most of the characters came full circle by the end, so if I were to choose which one I would prefer, it would be the TV series. If the show doesn't appeal to you for whatever reason, then Do You Remember Love is a good alternative, but some moments in the film will confuse you if you are not familiar with the TV series. All in all, I can safely say that Do You Remember Love is still a great film after all these years. If you're a mecha fan, then I recommend checking it out. Final score, 8 out of 10.